Do you need us to like...
Do you want any particular camera?
Here we go.
Do I say hi, everyone? What do I usually say in the videos? I can't remember what I say.
Hello, dear friends.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first AMPed podcast. I'm Lucy Carey-Shields. I'm one of the forensic analysts here at AMPed Software. Joining me today is my esteemed colleague, Blake.
Hey, good to have you.
Thanks.
Good to see you. I don't know.
Yeah. We're doing this for the first time. So we're going to be talking today about CCTV nightmares, things that chain of custody, things that can go wrong. Blake and I will talk about a bit about our experiences. Blake, do you want to start by introducing who you are?
Sure.
And where
absolutely.
you came from?
Where I came from.
Yeah.
It's a deeper story. But I am Blake Sawyer. I am the operations director for the U.S. And I've been here since 2019. Before that, I worked for the Plano Police Department in Plano, Texas, collecting video, processing video, trying to help our agency do better when it comes to what do they do with video. So,
Okay.
yeah. What about yourself?
Oh, well, it's not as fancy as that. Obviously, in the UK, I was part of law enforcement for a long time. So from about 2010, not in anything digital. I sort of got into this by accident. I started as like a frontline officer, like what we call a special constable. So I was a volunteer. I didn't get paid for it. Make of that what you will. Some may call me an idiot. And then I thought, oh, this computer forensics thing, this seems like it's quite interesting. I might try that.
Yeah.
And then cut to the future, I did a degree in computer forensics, and now I'm here. Still doing some law enforcement work, but mostly on a Monday to Wednesday, you can find me answering technical support questions for AMPed Software.
Very fun. That's actually how I met you, was when I worked at the police department.
Really?
Lucy was answering my support questions, so.
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
Can't remember that.
Very fun.
Okay, do you want to start with some questions then? We've got some questions prepared. We're just going to try and have a conversation. We don't really want it to be too technical. We want it to be sort of just about our experiences and some of the pitfalls with CCTV in particular. We've both dealt with it quite heavily in our career, and we still work with it in AMPed Software. Obviously, supporting you guys and hopefully making the software as best as we can. So go on, Blake. Do you want to start? Yeah.
So my first question was, what made you get into video forensics? But I guess you answered that.
Oh,
in your
yeah.
intro.
It was sort of accidental. So my degree is in computer forensics. So I'm computer, mobile phone. That's my day-to-day bread and butter. And when I applied for my first digital forensics job, they went, oh, okay, well, we have 3 computers over here that have like the mobile phone software and stuff. And there's 3 computers over here that have like the CCTV stuff. Those computers are all filled for the mobile guys. So do you want to just sit and do a bit of CCTV for a bit? And then cut to like 6 years later, I was still doing it and became accidentally kind of not too bad at it. And then I met someone called David Spreadborough, who sort of showed me the way.
Apologies.
I know, that's okay. He's not here today, but he's one of our esteemed colleagues, one of the best analysts in the UK. Taught me most of what I knew. So if I make any mistakes, it's his fault.
I like
generally. It. Yeah. Not really. Sorry. What about you?
So I have a different background. So I came from the world of audio and video production.
Okay.
So spent time in recording studios, spent time doing live audio and video production, and a friend at the police department said that they were looking for somebody to do video work, and I said I could do that, and the department wasn't quite sure what to do with that role. They put me in the crime scene unit, but then part of my responsibilities were also making sure microphones were working, making sure the chief's conferences would happen the way they were supposed to, making sure when the PIO, the public information officer, was talking that his microphones were working. And that was kind of what I did for the first little while. They sent me to LEVA training, the Law Enforcement Video Association, so I could eventually clarify video if that ever came up. And then, about a year into that, we had a girl who went missing and so we tracked down where she went. They had me go out and help with collections at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we collected about 1 terabyte worth of video,
Really?
processed it all the way through, tracked her throughout the night to where till the last place she was, and then, the next morning we followed his car as he was 3 hours late from work. He stopped at a gas station, and as one normally does, he took the squeegee and he wipes down the trunk of his car. So once we were able to see that, they brought him in. They ended up bringing him up on kidnapping charges, and then
Wow.
he got life in prison for that. And then afterwards, they found her body. So if it ever comes back up, then that was a homicide.
Yeah,
So,
goodness me.
So that went from me doing a little bit of video to that was pretty much my job from then on out. Went from 2 or 3
Wow.
video requests a month to about 30 to 40 overnight. And then
Goodness.
now that department's up to like 200 or 300 video requests a month. And
So you could say you built that place, really.
I mean,
That's like your
accidentally,
legacy.
right?
Yeah, accidentally.
Yeah.
Accidentally becoming an expert.
Yeah.
That should be the title of the podcast, really. This
Yeah,
one
the
in particular.
accidental experts.
Yes. Being thrown into a trial by fire almost.
I like it.
So going back to that case in particular, because that sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
Were there any lessons you learned from that? Anything with regards to like chain of custody
Yeah.
that stood out that you can remember and you can tell us about?
Yeah, so there were tons of lessons along the way, things that they teach in LEVA, but really kind of became foundational as we started going. So, for example, we went to a neighborhood where our suspect lived, and there were 5 or 6 houses that all had cameras, but each of the times were all different. So we had to figure out the offsets. And then one of the homes we went to, this would probably show up as a mistake. We went to the house, the guy said his cameras were not working. So the detective left the house and then said, "Hey, Blake, could you come over and look at it with us?" Mm-hmm. We went back to look at it, and in the time that it had happened, the guy had accidentally reformatted the system and deleted all the video that was on there.
Really?
Yep. So that would have been a really helpful clue for us, but it ended up we had enough other video that it was helpful.
Okay.
Another one was just the case of, like, whenever you see something on the video and the system is working, document everything, make sure you don't disconnect anything. Mm-hmm. In one case, we were at a car wash. The suspect brought his car in so that we could swab it and do an examination, but before he brought it in, he went to the car wash and he had the car detailed so that it could be as clean as possible.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and so they had the video of him at the car wash, but the owner of the car wash noticed that the time was off by a few hours or something.
Okay.
And so he reset the time in between the time that they watched the video and the time we went to retrieve the video.
Yeah.
And by resetting the time, it deleted the video and reformatted the system. So,
No way.
yeah.
Jeez.
So lots of little things that we learned that in that first time that really helped throughout the rest of the time.
Okay.
Document your times. If you see the video, don't leave. Those types of things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant.
What
In particular,
Mhm.
I wanted to ask about continuity
Yeah.
and chain of custody, which I always think can be overlooked with digital data because it's not as tangible as, and I go back to my own experience being a police officer in uniform with boots on and belt kit and, on the ground, seizing, drugs or a weapon or something. That's very tangible evidence,
It is.
Whereas digital data I always feel is a bit sort of ambiguous, and I find that it can be mishandled.
Right.
I've done it. I remember being given some CCTV from a supermarket in the UK and just going, okay, what's that? It's on a CD. Right, I just give it to the video unit now? Great, okay. In terms of chain of custody and keeping that continuity, are there any pitfalls that should be avoided there or any tips that you know of?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things when it comes to, especially these days where most of your recoveries come off of a flash drive or USB drive, every single time we would take a flash drive out to the scene, we would copy just that incident on like one incident from one location onto that flash drive. And then we could hash that, which is kind of give it a digital fingerprint so that that we have that start of a chain of custody right there. And then whenever we brought it back, then we could copy that onto a CD or a DVD or put it up on our server, however you store your evidence. But now you have that fingerprint from the time you retrieved it.
Yeah.
And so that helps start that chain of custody, which helps on your side too, because you work in a lab, or you've worked mostly in labs.
Yeah.
And how do you maintain that chain of custody once it leaves the field and comes to you?
Yeah, especially with, I mean, my primary work is mobile phone forensics, which is a nightmare, you know. If you think CCTV is bad, well, mobile devices are updating every single day. You know, you get a new update. Yeah, and the amount of times I've spoken to police officers on the Frontline who've gone, "Oh, I've just gone through this guy's phone." It's like, oh, okay, you literally just changed data, you know. In the UK, and I can only really speak for the UK because my primary experience has been in the UK, we have what's called the ACPO principles, which is the Association for Chief Police Officers. It doesn't exist anymore, but these principles are still the same, you know, and the core of that is you shouldn't change data. And it's we reiterate this in court. And shouldn't change data. Funny enough, the other principle is that everything should be documented. So as long as you don't really change data and you document it. Another principle is if you have to change data, then you should be competent enough to do so. And I think the final principle, in which there are 4, is that the senior investigating officer is in charge of all these principles. And unfortunately, a lot of the senior investigating officers I know, the what principles, you know? So we tend to be educating them, which we should be doing. They should be asking, you know, the digital experts, like, how do I handle this data? You know, when I get a phone call from an officer who's at a scene and is asking me, look, I've got 4 million digital devices, a computer, there's a Ring doorbell camera and the CCTV. What do I do? I'm like, great. Well, you've started by doing the first correct thing by phoning us, you know? So I think having those conversations with frontline staff from the get-go and people not being afraid to ask the questions. And because people feel stupid, like this, oh, I should know this, you know, modern policing is super difficult. They think, well, I should know this. I can use a phone, right? So I should be able to do this. It's like, no, this is advanced stuff. We have training courses and degrees in this subject area. So ask questions. There's no stupid questions, I always say. You know?
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Well, have you seen that that's helpful, or have they given you opportunities to kind of speak to your agencies to say these are the types of questions you should ask?
Yeah, I think nowadays, because we're dealing with so much, I mean, you talked about terabyte before.
Yep.
I mean, that's standard now. That was shocking for me and you back in the day, but now you have, you know, 256 gigabyte iPhones, you know?
Sure.
Data is becoming abundant, very routine. We're dealing with large amounts of data. We're still dealing with it, from my experience, slower than we should be. Yeah. We haven't really caught up to that stage. So the more that we ask these questions, we raise that awareness, I think it's better, and it takes that pressure off a bit, because there's a lot of pressure. It's a pressure cooker when you're dealing with that much data in a short amount of time frame. Sure. You know, you have to traverse a 256 gigabyte iPhone for someone who's in custody and there's a clock ticking, you know, right. Or maybe you have a kidnap victim or a homicide, and it's super important, I think, to have these conversations, be honest about what you don't know and what limitations you have with software and technology and knowledge, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talked about iPhones, it triggered something in my brain.
Really?
I don't know, because my brain is broken.
Okay, mine too, don't worry.
So you talked about a 256 iPhone, 256 gigabyte iPhone.
Yeah.
What about, how do you guys handle chain of custody and the evidence that's maybe stored on a cloud?
Oh, the cloud.
That's putting you on the spot.
Interesting buzzword. The cloud for us, and from my experience with it, because it's volatile data, and there's certain legislation you have to follow in order to access that. So there's different, it's a very sort of grey, cloudy area, to coin a phrase. We can deal with it. You can deal with it, you know, as long as you're doing it in a proportionate, justified way, and it's for a policing purpose, etc. In the UK in particular, there's legislation that covers you, obviously, because you don't know what's stored on the cloud, and obviously you've got things like two-factor authentication, encrypted tokens, things like this, which sort of get in the way, particularly with like Ring doorbells,
Right.
you know, cloud stored video.
Yeah.
That's super common now. I've got it, you know, I've got
Right.
it in my home. It's super useful for a user, but it's a massive challenge for law enforcement.
Right.
How is it in the US? Because I know in the UK we're very sort of restricted by what we can do with it, and it has to be signed off.
Right.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
score is in the US.
it's similar in the US. So
Okay.
with cloud storage devices, or whenever you have to go out to pull information from social media, you have to go through and file legal process. You have to
Right.
give a reason. You can't just say, I want to know all of the things Lucy's been browsing on YouTube, right? You've got to say this is the reason. You've got to have a judge sign off on that.
Okay.
And then a lot of times it takes a little bit of work to get that information back. Sometimes in exigent circumstances. So
Okay.
whenever it's, I see the video and I need that video right now, what the Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence, SWIGDE is the acronym, their recommendation is get that information as quick, like the best that you can,
Okay.
and then still file that legal process. So for your Ring camera,
Yeah.
you would go to the website and try to download the video off of the website. So if you have consent and you can get that person to say, can I have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Pull that video right there, and then still reach out to Ring and say, hey, we need that video so that we have like a confirmation. So this is the version we
Okay.
got. Sometimes with Ring cameras, there's multiple ways to save the video,
Yes.
and each of those can change the video in different ways. It's not proprietary. Proprietary is its whole other thing, but it's always good with CCTV to get as proprietary as possible. With Ring cameras, it's similar in that you want to make sure you get the best version, and so that's one of those steps that you have to go through as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is a good conversation. I feel like we're doing really well.
I
you
know. It's not bad for our first
Not
try.
bad for our first one, you know. I want to sort of bring it back to, you know, because you mentioned proprietary CCTV, which is our favorite at AMPT. You know, we love it.
We do.
Especially the developers, you know.
We have people that's all they look at.
That's
is-
all they do. What sort of limitations, challenges have you, in your experience, discovered with proprietary CCTV, DVRs, you know,
Yeah.
that whole, even legacy stuff? Because I still like talking about, you know, the whole VHS demuxing.
Sure.
That's sort of like retro now, but I kind of still love that, you know.
Yeah, I've never run into an analog case. I've never had to work off a VHS
Okay,
tape.
yeah.
Outside of some old, like our police cars, they used to have a VHS tape
Really?
that would record. And so we had old traffic stops and old interviews that we'd have to go and digitize.
Okay.
But yeah, proprietary happens all the time, and it is its own challenge. It is helpful for chain of custody because from that aspect, if you save that proprietary video, nobody's going to be able to change that video and then still make it playable inside of the player. So on that aspect, it's helpful. The other good thing is that's going to be your least changed version. So if you go to I don't know, a Hikvision system, and you say, I want to save the AVI version, the AVI version may be a re-encoded version. It may change the video so it's not the same anymore. But the more proprietary version, like in Samsung, they use a .sec. That version is going to be just the bits as they were copied on the DVR, saved into a format that plays inside of their software. And so then the trouble that we have, and why we have a whole team that works on this, is taking that information, preserving the details, but then making a version that's playable so that we can watch it, so that the courts can watch it, so that you can put it out to the public, so that whenever there is an incident, you don't have the news broadcast people screen recording your video, and then trying to put that out and saying, does anybody recognize this person, which is a video of a video of a video.
Yeah.
Becomes an inception of videos.
A video, yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say. It brings me back to like my pre-AMPT 5 days. When I was, using things like FFmpeg and free open source software, which is great.
Yeah.
But, I had a cheat sheet of like FFmpeg commands, and I did not know what I was doing. I just go -F H64, and type this. What's the dangers of that? I know our format technicians and developers, they talk about this all the time.
Right.
But I think it's super important to reiterate it, because I didn't know what I was doing back then, and I think I still don't really know. But
Sure.
I'm a bit more educated these days to try and avoid -F H64, etc. When
Right.
Something like 5 can maybe do it a bit more robustly.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a playable version, so it helps make something that's easier to play. The downside is, because those proprietary systems have their own little bits and bobs. I think that's the British term, bits and bobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you.
So because they have all that different information in there, if FFmpeg runs into one of those segments that it doesn't recognize, then it says, I'm just going to skip this until I find something else I recognize.
Okay.
And in the process, it can skip frames, or it can skip part of frames. It can lose the timing information. And so by bringing it into 5, what 5 will do is it will, the developers have set it up so that it can parse out that data that is non-video data and either create a timestamp stream for it or clean the file so that it's easier for that file to play, and make sure you preserve all of the frame information.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes
it's a
sense.
big help for
Yeah,
sure. I also
100%.
used to do FFmpeg all the time.
FFmpeg, yeah.
I helped on the SWGDE paper about FFmpeg.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that,
No, you don't want to know more about that. It's people arguing
but-
in a room for like a week. It's
Oh,
not,
really?
It's not exciting.
Okay.
It's pretty much every hybrids meeting, which is the team we're on is the hybrids team.
Yeah, we call ourselves the hybrids because we're sort of like this hybrid between maybe someone very technical and then but also with like a human aspect. So we
Yep.
call ourselves like the hybrids team.
Yep.
If that explains to people out there,
Yep. It reminds me, I have saved on my computer a screenshot from the first time I testified. It was that case that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And they are live tweeting my testimony on this big, like all the
Really?
local news agencies are live tweeting everything. And there's this one comment that my wife screenshotted and she sent to me and also posted publicly and said, "This is my life." And it said, was it Specialist Sawyer is wafting into nerd talk? The prosecutor is trying to rein him back in. And so I know that, and I'm really conscious of, can we talk in a way that makes sense to humans, to the trier of fact?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the greatest test of your nerd talk because I feel like a fraud, right? I feel like I'm a fraud, because my background isn't technical. I'm sort of a creative person, so I went into computer forensics thinking I'll try that,
Right.
and then I've accidentally got this far, and I'm like,
Accidentally gotten this far.
suppose I'll just keep doing it. But yeah, I always feel. Can I understand this concept? So if I learn something that's quite advanced, and some of the concepts in video forensics are super advanced,
Yeah.
Can I explain this to me? And then the next test is, can I explain it to my mum,
Oh.
Would she understand?
Right.
And that's how I try and present evidence if I'm ever due in court,
Yeah, I tried that. Can I present this to my kids? But now my kids are probably bigger nerds than I am. Don't tell them that this is recording.
I mean, they may watch this.
They probably won't make it this far. It's fine.
Okay, so I've got some further questions.
Yeah.
You are a LEVA certified and IAI certified forensic
am.
video examiner?
Yep.
Okay, so in practical terms, how do these sort of two certifications change how you approach CCTV and video forensics? And can you talk about the importance of knowledge and
Yeah.
certifying yourself and getting that training and understanding what you're dealing with?
Sure, absolutely. So the processes between the two are different for sure, but the knowledge base is the same.
Okay.
So that's helpful. If you know going into the LEVA certifications, they teach you the materials and then they test you on the materials. And then at the end of that process, you take a test, which is you take a case that you've actually worked and you present it to them and say, this is the opinion that I feel comfortable giving based on this evidence. And they look at each aspect of that, say, this is what works, this is what didn't, how did you do this, why did you do that? And part of it is, did you do everything well? And part of it is, can you answer those questions well? And so that's a nerve-wracking part for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
The other side, the IAI test, it is in some aspects a lot easier, but in
Okay.
some aspects a lot more difficult, because you take a written test, and then if you pass the written test, then they send you files that you have to work, and they know the answers to them, and then you have to answer technical aspects, you have to do comparison work on it, you have to do conversion work, you have to do clarification, and you send them all of the things you did, and they say yes or no, you did the right things.
Okay, so you have that sort of validation at the end
Yeah.
as well. Okay, that's really
Yeah,
good.
so that from that aspect, that was helpful,
Yeah.
because I don't have to wait for a case that I've done analytical work that I have to testify on
Yeah.
before I'm certified. So
Yeah.
from that aspect, it was helpful. But either way, talking about how do you preserve things, documenting all of that, it's similar. Yep.
Yeah. I think one of the pitfalls that I've experienced throughout my time is data retention, data handling and retention. We sort of talked about legacy media, VHS,
Right.
We sort of have to cope with the stuff that we're dealing with as if one day it will be legacy media. How do you do that, and what's your experience with, storing this type of data? Because I know that, CDs can become transparent over time. We were storing a lot of our data on CD format for a long
Yeah.
time. Tapes can disintegrate. What's the future looking like for that, if you can comment on that? And do you have any experience with pitfalls with regarding data retention yourself that you can talk about?
I'm going to ask you the same question in a minute, so
Okay,
think about
okay.
that. So it's hard to say. It's been, like I said, maybe 5 or 6 years
Yeah.
since I've been on the active side of it, so I don't exactly know what the trends are these days. I know there is a lot more movement to the cloud,
Yeah.
which is good and bad. So the benefit is the cloud is just somebody else's computer. So if I store that information on somebody else's computer, then the hope is that they will have backed it up. They will make sure that it's going to be ready for me at some point in the future. The downside is I have to keep paying that person to look after my evidence,
Yeah.
make sure that nothing happens to it. And from that aspect, sometimes people get locked into an ecosystem where they say, this is our storage system, and it costs too much now for us to switch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys see? Especially with
Wow.
computer forensics,
Computer
where it's
forensic.
not
Yeah.
just video.
I think for a long time we were storing a lot of stuff on CCTV, sorry, not CCTV, CDs. And then it was sort of deemed that maybe that's too volatile because, again, they're going to be going transparent. Some of the ways we've dealt with is just tape storage. So I know tape storage is still going on. There is a now shift to the cloud that I'm aware of. But I mean, again, you just said, where does that lead? Companies in the future, will they still be there? Will the infrastructure still be there?
Oh, that's interesting.
I think this is too big of a problem to think about right now, and we're just hoping that
Right.
the fix will come and that it will all stay the same, I guess. But it's an interesting one. I think it's one of the pitfalls I've seen that's caused a lot of issues in court where data should have been retained and it wasn't, or it's been retained for too long because we have strict laws, in Europe and the UK that we have to handle it properly. So it's going to be interesting to see how we were talking about 256 gigabyte iPhones before, how we manage that, going
Right.
forward.
Yeah, because if you have to keep that for 25 years,
Right?
that's and that's not your only video or only phone
Yeah.
you've captured.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, if you could tell 3 simple rules for frontline officers, people that you work with, in terms
Yeah.
of not losing that evidence, not preserving stuff from the time they get there, what would be those kind of simple tips?
Good question. 3.
Yep.
Only 3.
3 simple steps.
Okay, 3 simple steps. Stop and ask the question, what am I doing? What do I need to do? Should I phone someone?
Right.
Those are what you need to think of the questions. 2, document everything, write what you see, take pictures, and then 3, log the time, do a time check. The amount of times I don't see a time check, and I'll get some data and it'd be like, oh yeah, here's a hard drive with CCTV on it. It's like, oh, okay, great. Did you do a time check? Don't know.
Yeah.
Do the time check, because that's, we talk about verification continuity. When you get to court and all of a sudden your timings are in question, your file timings, your incident timings, they all have to match up. That's probably the biggest challenge to explain why there's now a discrepancy.
Yeah.
You know?
When you say time check, if I have never, my system at home is probably perfect. But what do you mean by a time check?
A time check, so you look at the time on the system, right? And then you look at the actual time in real life. Compare the two, however you do it, whether you use an app, the atomic clock that's been ISO verified and everything and validated. As long as you can have a reference point from the time that you're there looking at the system to what's on the screen, if you have a pixel embedded timestamp, which is the time that's displayed on the footage itself, then you can verify that, okay, it's either spot on accurate or we're 4 hours out, gonna have to explain that,
Right.
gonna have to ask the owner of this bar or whatever why that is, you know, or they might not know.
Right.
It might just be one of those CMOS batteries going or something in the system. Or it's a shift to daylight saving times in the UK, so a lot of our systems are usually an hour out when it's British summertime compared to wintertime, etc. So yeah, that's how you do it. Just as long as you can document that you've verified the 2 times and why they're different.
Right. What's the largest offset you've seen, like that you remember?
Oh, that I remember. I mean, I can't remember, but I know there's been like 8 hours difference. And I'm terrible at maths.
8 hours?
Yeah, something. And then I had to try and work out the difference. So I'll see like, oh, okay, so it's 1400 and this is like 2000 yesterday. Right, okay. And they're like, oh, so how many hours? And I'm like, yes, it's many hours. Many, you know. I had to try and work that out. But luckily, I think these days, because I don't do retrieval this much anymore, they have special apps and things that they can do like a quick maths check.
Right.
Saves me the embarrassment.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, well, and also, 5 has that built in now, too, where you could say this is the time.
Course,
and if somebody documented
yes.
the time, that would be helpful, too.
That would be absolutely helpful.
Yeah, that was, I think the largest I saw was off by more than 6 years.
No way, really?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I mean, it was not, you just document it.
Just
and
document it, yeah.
And then
If
whenever
in
it comes
doubt, write
time
it down.
to leave, always leave a note. That's the
Yeah.
thing I've learned from Arrested Development.
Yes.
Always
Leave a note. Yeah. I love that one. If you take nothing away from this, then always leave a note.
Yep.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I've asked all my questions for you.
I think, Do you have any cases that you wanted to share or that you can think about where either things went really well or you've looked back on it and said, I wish this had been done a little differently?
I mean, if you're not looking at your cases and going, what was I doing?
Right.
Then you're not developing, I think. Some of the reports that I've done, even in the past 5 years, I've looked back and I've gone, that is terrible. I would not do that now. Why did I do that? But then there's been other cases where I've gone, that's really good. Is this me? Did I get someone else write this? A lot of them I can't talk about, obviously, and some of the cases are so sensitive that I could never talk about them. And a lot of them I can't remember now.
Well, we should specify. So some of the reasons you won't want to talk about them is because you deal a lot with CSAM footage.
Yes,
and
that's
so a
correct.
lot of that child exploitative information is things you could never share or
100%.
really don't want to share or talk about.
And if you don't need to know about it, then don't know about it because it's a world that you just don't want to, So a lot of I think maybe like 90% of the other world that I work in is that, unfortunately. Which is why, weirdly, and it's going to sound insane, but like if I get a CCTV case, it's a fantastic break, you know?
Right.
It's something technical usually
Yeah.
that I can dive into, and it's a break from seeing something that's potentially a bit traumatic.
Right. It's like when you go to YouTube and it tries to play that lo-fi video. It's just like a nice
soothing, you know? But then the timescales that are usually associated with these sort of cases are not very soothing at the same time.
Right, you're like, it's only a homicide this time.
Yeah. Oh, it's only a murder, you know. But yeah, no, I can't really remember now. There's so many things I do differently. Looking back when I was a fledgling, you know, a technician going out to scenes and climbing in lofts and things, there are some lofts that I now wouldn't climb in.
Right.
You know, without doing a risk assessment, you know, what was I doing? I had no business going up massive ladders into people's lofts, but here we are. And I would maybe have looked more into compression theory, MPEG compression, and what H.264 was, because I didn't know any of that. I do now.
Right.
I have a better understanding, and a better understanding of timings in files as well, which is really advanced stuff. You know, I mentioned Dave Spreadborough before. He's done really great webinars, which you can find on our YouTube. Plug. But stuff like that, you know, I had no concept of it, which fills me with fear now. And
Right.
I think if you don't have that fear looking back on your career, then you haven't progressed. So, yeah. What about you?
I mean, so many things. I think we learn things along the way. The very first thing and why we kind of changed what we did at the police department to move a lot more of the video stuff into the crime scene unit was because at one point it was all incumbent on the detectives.
Right.
And so the detectives would go back to the scene after the fact, ask for a copy, and then kind of these days, a lot of people use like a cloud system, like send me the video, and they upload the file to the video. Well, now you've got to authenticate that, and you've got to make sure that that video is what it says it is, and also hasn't been changed.
Yeah.
In either the process of the homeowner putting it in the cloud, or the cloud system making its own changes.
Yeah.
And so those were little changes that we had to fix in-house. I remember one detective who retired shortly after I started, who had every case he had ever worked on the same flash drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
so,
not redundant at all, you know? If
No.
he loses that, that's...
I mean, he had
goodness
checked
me.
things into evidence as he needed to.
Okay.
But that was where he kept all of his main evidence.
Wow, okay.
Or his main copies of the evidence.
Yeah.
And so we had to like talk through, here's how you handle digital files and how
Yeah.
it's similar to how you handle physical evidence.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't, not that you wouldn't steal a car video, but like you wouldn't take home the bloody knife and like bring it back the next day.
Yeah.
You would want to check that in as quickly as you got it. The same thing is true with our evidence. As soon as you get it, you want to check that in.
Yeah.
It shortens that timeline a little bit.
100%. By a short amount, you know?
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that's all I got.
Same, really. Unless you've got any words of wisdom, you know?
No, when I find myself in times of trouble, I don't have any words of wisdom.
Do you not? Okay.
No. But I do have some closing thoughts. So thank you guys for tuning in to the first ever episode. Hopefully they get a lot better from here. We will see. I have a lot of hope for the next one. The guys are mostly funny, so it'll be great. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you learn when the next episodes are coming out. Make sure that you keep listening. You can hear more about the inner workings of AMPed, more about all of the different pieces that we run into. You should be able to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your source of entertainment. And also check out the blog. It's a great place. It's a free resource. You can get tons of great information about what we're up to, about how the software works, about training opportunities that are coming up. And if you liked everything you heard, make sure you share this with somebody else so that you can get the word out on it. Leave a review on whatever podcast opportunity that is. And thanks again. Stay curious and stay safe.
Yeah, thanks, guys.